Well, if you're talking about just any professional, decide what you want. Decide what kind of business you want to build. Decide who you want to work with. Decide what makes you feel fulfilled as a professional. I think we insist that everybody at our firm write out, for example, their ideal client profile. If you're going to go fishing for salmon, take gear that will help you catch salmon.
Look, I think this is a great point, and we touched on it earlier. I think, and it ties into your first tip about do the work. I think if you're doing the work, do it deliberately.
Yes.
Think about what it is that you want to achieve and why you're doing it, and put that into action, as opposed to kind of accidentally doing it because that seems to be the next law.
This is the Future Ready Advisor, a show about transforming your financial advisory practice. I'm your host, Sam Sivarajan, a wealth management consultant, behavioral scientist, and keynote speaker. In this podcast, I dive deep into the real challenges advisors face and bring you insightful conversations with top industry experts. Together, we'll explore practical strategies grounded in behavioral science to help you better serve your clients, optimize your time, and build a future-ready practice. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Sam Sivarajan. Welcome to today's episode of the Future Ready Advisor. Today, I'm here with Michael Clarke, a veteran financial advisor and the author of the book, A Firm Worth Building. Michael, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Delighted to have you and looking forward to our conversation. Let me quickly introduce you to our audience. Joining us today is Michael Clarke, the author of the book, A Firm Worth Building, a guide for professional businesses to scale and thrive by focusing on running the business well, rather than just their technical specialties. Michael grew his advisory firm from modest beginnings to managing $500 million, becoming a driving force behind the national referral network. His book offers 30 essential lessons for business owners, including building client trust quickly and leveraging professional networks for referrals. Michael and his team are forward thinkers who believe in building what should exist, not just what currently does. Michael, let's start and dive in. You've been an advisor for over 30 years. Can you share with us some of the pivotal moments in your career that significantly shaped your professional path?
Sure. And by the way, thanks for that introduction. I hope I'm worthy of it. Look, I started my journey in this business back in the 90s. And I think for the longest time, it was just about survival. It was just about, how do I keep the lights on, keep food on the table, that kind of thing. I started out in the commission part of the business. I started out as an insurance agent. And I think I saw it just as a sales job. I saw it as a commission sales job. I didn't see it as I'm building a business. Okay. So in a nutshell, whenever I'm asked, okay, well, what was the biggest key to your success? My answer is, well, I survived. I didn't die because I made every single mistake you could make, from, not hiring staff, to not investing back into my business, to not taking the educational components as seriously as I could have, as early as I could have. Just everything. I didn't know that what I had was an actual business. Okay. So I had to learn that sort of the hard way. And there weren't a lot of people around to help me or to mentor me into building a business. So, I was just sort of flailing away at it and just trying to survive. And so I did that for, I don't know, maybe the first half of my career almost. And then I started to get serious about building actual infrastructure, and getting on the road of fulfilling what my long-term vision was, and which means I had to think about what it was. I had to decide what I wanted. And by the way, I've actually built my business twice. I started in 1992. From scratch, and then I started again in 1997 from scratch because I moved from Northern California to Los Angeles And I moved to where I knew everybody, where I'd grown up, and then I moved to an area where I knew nobody, had to do it all over again. There's something to be said about surviving, by the way. It's a really good skill to have, but it's not enough if what you want to do is build a business.
That's so profound, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. And it's an interesting point that you've made, that you're based in California, and even within California, moving from Northern California to Los Angeles. I mean, as you say, you're starting over again, you're building. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, well, what was actually involved in terms of, if you will, to start over again? And because you've said to me that, look, you've made every mistake in the book. And presumably when you started over again, this was an opportunity for you to kind of undo some of those early mistakes that you'd made.
Yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about that?
sure. Would that I had the wisdom to have realized that. I did not. It was jumping from one jungle to the next, and it was just surviving in another jungle, basically. But no, but what I will say is, so I came to Los Angeles for personal reasons, family reasons, really. That's why I did it. One thing I did realize early on is that I will become like those I associate with. So I've always sought the right relationships, and I've always played this as a team sport from the beginning, because I don't know any other way to do it. So in associating with people who are more successful than me, I did learn a few things. Okay. I learned how to interview really well, I think. Okay. I learned that if I didn't know something or didn't feel like I was an expert in a particular area, I needed to work with somebody else who was. Okay. I also learned that I needed to build them up in the eyes of the people that I was talking to. I mean, our industry, for whatever reason, throws us out as a bunch of lone wolves, and we're all solo acts for the most part. But I learned that I needed to borrow other people's expertise if I didn't have it myself. So I think at that juncture, there were a lot of things that started to turn, even though I wasn't at the point where I was building the infrastructure that would see me having a real honest to goodness business. But I feel like there were some very significant steps forward that I started to take.
In my experience, this is a process, right? You're not suddenly going to get all of the pieces in place. You have to start. It's a bit of a trial and error. But what I understand from what you say is that there's a process where you start thinking more deliberately, right? And mindfully about what are you doing and why you're doing it. And there's a long-term plan that may not necessarily reap dividends in the short run, but in the long run, it's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I had to deliberately pay the rent. I had deliberately paid childcare. Yes, there was a lot of deliberate.
No, but to your point, you're right. The surviving is an initial start for anybody in this industry.
Yeah.
And I dare say that your experience is similar to mine and others that I've seen. I remember, like, early you take on any client, right, that wants to take it. I remember, to me, clear as light, there was a time where we had a very large opportunity for a significant client. I went in with a team member to go meet with that client to do the dog and pony, etc. And this client, went to tell us that, like, every year he interviews 5 potential money managers, and he picks 5. And the following year he fires the 2 worst performing providers. And if you'd asked me a few years before, I would have, sat there and tried my darndest to try to get that client. I said at that point, sorry, I don't think we're the right fit. And I excused myself when we walked out. And I think this is illustrative of what we are talking about being deliberate and thinking through this. But that comes with a little bit of experience, a little bit of confidence, a little bit of understanding. This is who I, serve, and this is who I don't. Right.
You make a great point there, because I think there came a point when I had to focus on who I was going to work best with. And I think my hand was forced. I was about 10 years into the business. And again, I was doing okay, but I was just kind of surviving. But I wanted to align myself with these other professionals that were also in our business, because they had access to a marketplace in Southern California that I felt I could help them with. But the barrier to entry for them is I had to double my production in 1 year, okay, which is a giant challenge. I managed to do that because I started saying no to those people that I had formerly been chasing with the mindset that I need everybody. Okay. And I started becoming a lot more focused on what I wanted, who I was going to work well with, and started, just throwing a lot of fish back, as it
Mhm.
were.
Mhm.
Um, and it, and I think that was the year I learned how powerful that was.
Mhm.
Like somebody once said to me years ago, "You make more money saying no than you do saying yes." And to your point, I think that's what you were saying as well.
So, on that note, you talk about in your book, A Firm Worth Building, you emphasize the importance of running the business well, not just
Yeah.
focusing on professional specialities. A little bit about how this perspective has influenced the way you see the future of financial advisory practices. I mean, how your experiences shape writing the book and how you think the book is shaping your own view of how the industry is evolving.
Well, the industry is evolving. First of all, I think it's evolving away from being transactionally oriented, and it's evolving towards building relationships.
Hmm.
Um, I think we focused on building relationships now for a long, long time, almost the entirety of my career. Um, so I think that's one thing. Advisors should really be focusing on what their clients really are there for and why they're considering hiring them. And most of that has to do with outcome and less to do with mechanics and all the things we feel like we're expert in. In other words, a trap that I fell into early, I use this as an example. So once I started to understand the science of investing, okay, started to understand things like portfolio theory and its origins and all that kind of stuff, I was really excited to share it because I thought it was cool and I thought it would make people trust me more because I could speak about this. And then I discovered no one cared. And because it wasn't speaking to them, it wasn't speaking to what it was
Right.
they were talking to me for. So I think the I think a lot of things haven't changed. I mean, we call it speaking to the listening, I guess. But it really is all about why are your clients there. And then again, I go back to representing being part of a team if you can. We need to all be working in teams these days. I think there has been a seismic shift in our business, in our industry, um, as it relates to how we interface with our clients, other advisors, their attorneys, their tax people, whomever they're working with. We all need to be sitting at the table together and not working in silos. We need to be
Hmm.
working. We're working on behalf of clients, common clients. We should all know each other. We should interact occasionally. Um, and the other thing I'll say is most advisors don't build infrastructure properly. There are a lot of things advisors do they just shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be processing paperwork, for example, or now it's new account paperwork. It's all done virtually now. But there's some administrative things. Our advisors shouldn't be doing that. What we should be doing is studying the business, studying people, continuing to educate ourselves, staying up on the things we need to stay up on, and being forward thinking with regard to how are we going to provide tomorrow's solutions, not just the ones we have today.
I like that. And it reminds me what you say of an old boss that I had who always used to tell us work on the business, not in the
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
And I think you have to do both, right? It's a bit of walking and chewing gum at the same time. But I think you're 100% right that too many people get caught in the day to day, the urgent versus the important, right? They're solving today's problems and neglecting what may be the opportunities, the game changing opportunities that are around the corner.
Yeah, and just one of the things I learned early on, and it was, and I actually learned this in my former career before I got into this industry, is that if something's in my hand, like a piece of paper or whatever, it requires my attention, I'm going to do it right then and there,
Yeah.
unless there is some huge reason why I can't. And I've operated that way for so long that now, if you walk into my office, excuse me, my desk has nothing on it because habitually I'm taking care of things in the moment, and I find that to be so much more productive. And by the way, oh my gosh, what a stress reliever. Okay,
Yeah.
because I don't want to walk into my office and there's 10 things that I have to do that are left over from yesterday.
Yep. Yep. You mentioned something about building infrastructure. And when we talked before, Michael, you talked about this specific concept around infrastructure, about building digital family offices.
Mhm.
Can you explain a little bit what a digital family office is and why you believe that that's both an opportunity and the future of wealth management?
Sure. Well, we're all familiar with with what a family office is. It's the ultra uber wealthy solution. You go to one place and you get everything from wealth management, tax, um, estate planning to travel
Insurance.
arrangements if you want to go on a trip to Europe. Um, but it is a solution that up until very recently was available only to those that were really, really wealthy. The idea of the digital family office is to bring that solution to anybody by bringing together groups of advisors, the CPA, the attorney, in some cases maybe a business attorney. It could be a CFO. It could be a lot of people. Whoever should be sitting at the table with regard to moving and managing somebody's wealth. That's the idea. And so typically where we begin is by introducing ourselves to our clients' other advisors and saying, hey, since we work for a common client, maybe we should know each other. And maybe we should consider being on each other's team versus just knowing each other. There's a difference between you knowing an attorney and what they do and the two of you being on one another's team for the sake of common clients. It's a different experience for the client. So really building the digital family office is nothing more than just bringing everyone together, okay? And establishing those lines of communication and, running point for the clients and talking about how all of this is working. We should be asking our clients if they have needs beyond what we do. I'm always asking clients, what's the condition of your estate plan? Do you have one? Does it need to be updated? Is the attorney that did it still an attorney? Often they aren't. It's important that we're asking all these questions because I get all kinds of responses that are about, yeah, we need to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you recommend someone? The more I do that, the more of those calls I get, because I know that my clients are seeing me as the point person in the world, kind of like the quarterback. That's who I want to be.
I want to dig into that a bit more, Michael. I think this concept of digital family office, I understand, and this is aligned with your general view that you need to build strong referral networks. But
yeah,
when we discussed, you had a really good point that too many advisors think about a referral network as almost like a Rolodex, right? That you have the business card, you have the name and number, etc. But what you're thinking about is something a little bit more deeper and more nuanced. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I am. And I'm glad you brought that up. Look, the industry has always told advisors, go get to know a couple of CPAs, go get to know a couple of attorneys. And the way we've always approached it is, hey, take them to lunch and tell them how great you are. They'll send you clients. Okay.
Doesn't
and
work
how
that way.
well does that work? It don't. So,
Yeah.
and we all kind of know that, which is why everybody gets frustrated with it. What I'm talking about is building an actual honest to goodness partnership where we're actually assisting each other in one another's success. It's different. If you're an attorney or CPA, I have to be valuable to your practice, which means every single time I talk to you, I have to bring you something you can use. Okay. Now, often that's information. We create a lot of content of various varieties from a lot of different people, but it also can be in the form of, hey, my industry teaches me how to interview really well. Maybe I could bring some of those benefits to you, and maybe it could enhance the way you interact, not only with your existing people, but with new people. A lot of the data shows that attorneys and CPAs don't market to their existing clients at all. But if they did, they would raise their revenue per client by as much as, I don't know, maybe the number's 30 to 40%, something like that. It's not a small number. So when I am building a partnership with another professional, this is what I'm saying to them. Look, I'm gonna help you be better, okay, as a means of being valuable to you. And which just means I'll share with you what it is we do well, and you can use it for your own purposes or not, whatever. I'm not telling you you have to, but I think there's a lot we can offer. And I think so if I'm showing up as that person who has a stake in your success, it's a different kind of interaction, and it's a real partnership.
So what you're talking about is a much more proactive and deeper relationship
Yep.
than, perhaps the annual lunch where you talk about your golf handicap or anything else. You're
Yeah.
talking about, hey, by the way, I've seen this with my clientele. Is that something that you're seeing? Is that something I can help you with? Right. I mean, where,
Right.
as you say, that you're creating a partnership where it isn't reactive, that one person isn't waiting for a referral from the other. It's actually, what can you do collectively to go out there and develop business together?
Yeah, and it's all about us telling essentially the same story. My story with my clients is I am going to try to solve every problem I can, whether it means I refer you to somebody else to do it or whether we do it in house. Okay. So, what we're talking to our partners about doing is having the same conversation, saying, look, I'm an estate planning attorney, but we can also, by extension, address other needs because we have other relationships. I'm going to ask you about what's going on in other areas, and you just tell me how you're feeling about what's going on. It doesn't matter what the answer is. You're going to be elevated in the eyes of your client simply by asking the question.
I love that description. And it makes me think of an analogy that I heard somebody use with me, which is that it's akin to a family doctor or a general practitioner.
Yeah,
They're not the expert. Okay. But a good family doctor is going to refer their patient to the cardiologist, to the rheumatologist, to what have you.
right.
But their job's not done at that point. Once the patient goes to the cardiologist and gets a workup and there's a report coming back, the family doctor is going to use that report and integrate it into their daily care to say, because of what you've learned from the cardiologist, this is how we need to change the rest of your routine, right?
That
That's
that
what
that,
you're talking about and playing
that
a role with your clients.
yeah, that's a great way to describe it. I mean, I've joked about it and said if I went into my dentist office and there was a second head growing out of my shoulder, I wouldn't expect they would know what to do with it, but I'd want them to say something.
Yes, yes.
Uh, uh, your example was much more eloquent than mine, by the way.
Thank you. Look, I think on those lines, you're talking about being involved and creating, I think, whether it's content or value at each step of the process.
Yeah,
When we talked, you had told me about your intake process with new clients and how you've broken it down into 4 different meetings because
yeah,
you can't possibly cover everything in one meeting.
right.
With different educational material that you use in each of those meetings to stay connected and build trust. Can you walk us through that 4 different meetings and what's
Sure.
involved and what type of content you use and how that's worked for you?
Sure. Well, let me answer that first by talking about what we used to do, which was a standard sort of advisor intake, which took a long time. I was taught to send somebody a questionnaire before I even met with them. The questionnaire was, I mean, nobody filled it out. They looked at it and went, I'm not going to do this. So you'd end up meeting with somebody and the intakes would take, maybe 2 hours. And,
Hmm.
and that was fine. I mean, you're trying to build a relationship, but I think what we discovered is how much of it was retained. Not a whole
100%.
lot, because it was just this big thing. So what we've done over the years, and I think COVID accelerated this because so many of us transitioned into a virtual way of doing business. We took that intake process and we broke it up into 4 steps. The first step is risk tolerance. I'm going to take somebody's temperature on what their emotional limits are regarding a typical portfolio's behavior. And then we're going to go, okay, what about this one? What about that one? And I'm going to talk to them about, are you okay with swings that look like whatever they look like?
Hmm.
And I want to find out where their limits are because, and we learned this during COVID. We all know that when COVID hit back in 2020, the market dropped, I think it was 33% in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, Elizabeth, that's a big one, right? I mean, everybody's kind of
freaking out.
Doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And but if I can tell you, I had 2 clients who wanted me to make changes in their portfolio because of that event. Just 2. Okay. Everybody else, I knew what their emotional limits are, and I knew what their tolerance for risk was, and nobody else called. Okay. I mean, a few people here and there, but during that period, you'd be shocked at the number of people that didn't call. And it's because we'd taken the time to know that. Okay. So I have to know what your limits are, because I don't want. And by the way, the 2 people that said make changes, those changes worked against them. Okay. Because they made emotional, fear-based decisions. So I have to know what your emotional limits are, so you don't make an emotional, fear-based decision, which 90% of the time is going to go against you. Okay.
Right.
The second meeting, once I know that, then we're going to take a look at how does your current investment mixture stack up against your risk tolerance? Are they aligned or are they not? Okay. And if they're not, we're going to look at, well, how could we possibly improve this? Kind of spitball a little bit and go, okay, well, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? Okay. So they're going to get a bit of a flavor of, what direction we might go in if they came on board. The third meeting, though, and I think this is one of probably the most important, is we're going to do a very skeletal or basic financial plan for them. We call it an express plan. Okay. But it's going to give them an idea of where the road for them leads. So 99% of the people we meet with just want to get to a point in time where they have economic freedom. Okay. But economic freedom isn't just about getting there. It's about staying there. Okay. So we're going to put together a basic financial plan, which will illustrate for them if they can get there and stay there. And if there are adjustments they need to make before the fact, we can suggest those adjustments as well. But it's often the first time these people have seen this. It's like we get comments all the time. Nobody's ever done this. Okay. The fourth meeting is, okay, now that you've seen all of this, this is how we would work with you if you came on board. Majority of the people, somewhere during step 3, they're like, I'm in. Okay. So I think we found it to be a process that's really, really effective. The other part of it is it takes me as an advisor, it takes me out of my own head. I have to start listening to people. I have to start assimilating their answers. I have to start really at a much deeper level understanding them as opposed to getting my presentation right. Okay. Which I think a lot of advisors, especially newer advisors, it's an easy trap to fall into. I want to make sure I do a good presentation. Who cares? Talk to me.
Look, that's a great point. The key there is an investment of time that you're putting in, but because it's structured, because you're listening, you are offsetting the time that it's take by improving your success rate. From what I gather, right? I mean, your success has gone up dramatically when you have this structured 4-step process, as opposed to saying, here's the presentation, I'm going to go through it, I'm going to follow up and ask you if you have any questions,
Right.
follow up 3 weeks after that to ask you if you have any questions. This process kind of indicates to the prospective client that you're methodical, that you're disciplined, that you have a process, and you're there to build a long-term relationship instead of getting a quick win.
Right. And what I would also say is, and I forgot to mention this, so we do a lot of educational stuff. Okay. We do a town hall webinar every month where we're bringing on a different professional to talk about what they do, and we're taking on and tackling the issues of the moment and all that stuff. So we have this library of educational content, and between these meetings, we will almost insist that the people we're talking to watch at least one of those webinars, because it fills in the gaps. They'll watch it and go, oh, that's what he was talking about. And they'll learn. It is such an effective tool when it comes to keeping the interest high and the fire burning, but it also gives them an idea. It gives them a way, in a super non-threatening way, where they can take a look at us and go, oh yeah, this is what these guys are. Okay. But a lot of this even starts before that, because first time you meet with somebody and you're getting acquainted, that's when you really want to determine whether it's a fit. And we do say in those meetings, look, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here so that you and I can decide if
the
it's
fit is right.
appropriate for us to work together.
Right.
And
Now,
that's not what the industry teaches.
and again, this is what we've talked about even from the outset, that this only comes with experience and developing your own business plan, et cetera, to say this is what works and this is the type of clients that you want, right? It's the industry doesn't teach it because, like everything else, let's use driving for an example. It's meant to teach the average Joe driver how to drive. There are lots of people with driver's license that perhaps shouldn't have one, right? But at least
Yeah.
if I look at my local traffic, but I
And
think
most
that
of them are driving Priuses in Los Angeles, but okay.
but the idea is that you have to take what you learn from general and then tailor it specifically to your needs, your practice, your strengths, your niche, etc.
Right. Apologies to all the Prius owners, by the way. Anyway.
I want to go back to the digital family office and the network partners. I think when we were talking, you had a really interesting concept of this client bill of rights that you use to ensure that interests and approaches are aligned. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, that actually came about because over the years, as we have referred out to many professionals, look, there's no other way to say this. There are a lot of knuckleheads out there. Okay. And what I mean by that is those that do not perpetuate the experience you're looking to perpetuate. If you make a referral to somebody, what you primarily care about is, will they continue the experience that my client is used to? And unfortunately, for us at least, a lot of times that didn't happen. So we came up with the idea of the network as a way of holding everybody accountable to a certain standard. And we developed the client bill of rights, and I guess it's a lot like that patient bill of rights you see in hospitals. It's nothing crazy. It's, return a phone call in 48 hours, answer an email, be transparent in your fee structure, answer questions without slipping into too much industry speak. It's the stuff you really shouldn't even have to say. Okay.
I love this idea. And the reason I love it is I think one of the biggest fears that advisors have is making a referral. If it works well, you might get a slight pat on your back. But if it doesn't work well, it could cost you your relationship with your client, even though you had nothing to do with their bad experience. And so I think to encourage referral, to encourage this team sport that you're talking about, which to me makes sense that is the right approach and the approach of the future, because one person can't be an expert on everything.
No.
This idea of having a client bill of rights and having that conversation with the network partners to say, this is the minimum standards that your client can expect from me if you refer them to me. Can we assume that that's going to be the same in reverse, right?
Well, we're going to assume that the experience is going to be what we want it to be. But I even go a step further. If I make a referral, especially for the first time, I will sit in on the meeting. So if I make a referral to, let's say, a trust attorney, and they're going to meet for the first time, I'm at that meeting. Okay. I want to look at what people are getting, y'all. I mean, I got to know that.
Yep.
And if I'm going to be someone who's building partnerships, I have to know what they look like, because this is happening on my watch.
Are your clients okay with that? That they're sitting in?
Yeah. No, I say, look, if it's okay with you, can I sit in on the meeting? Like, yeah, please. Okay.
Oh, great.
So I don't think I've ever had somebody say no, they didn't want that. Now, once the process is kind of underway, I'll back off a little bit, because I don't want to look over anybody's shoulder either.
Right.
Okay. But the other thing that I do insist on is that communicate with you. If you're working with one of my clients in an area that I don't work in, communicate with me about what's going on. Okay. For example, if it's a trust attorney and you meet with the client and they pay you a retainer, which often happens. And then now all of a sudden you can't get a hold of that client. You need information and they've gone radio silent. For crying out loud, tell me about that.
Hmm.
because I can jumpstart it because I'll probably talk to them before you will.
Right.
Okay. So that's just another aspect of team play that's beneficial for everyone.
Makes sense. Michael, what advice would you give to other advisors from the lessons that you've learned? Advice for innovation and building practices that are ready for the future?
Well, number one, take a look around you and see who you want to associate with. If you're trying to grow, associate with people who are bigger than you are, and associate with people who align with your values. I think um, associate with people who align with your thinking, and learn to play this as a team sport. It's not about you, okay? It's about you and everybody else that's working on behalf of the people you want to work with, and speak well of these people. We preach, and this is in the book. We call it the triangle of edification. It's nothing more than building up somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, by the way, it's not just another professional that you might work with. It's your staff, it's your firm, it's your, and the more, and I don't mean in a disingenuous way. I mean, find something genuine to edify and to amplify. Okay. We amplify our support staff all the time because they make us look good. The majority of interactions that my clients have with my practice, they don't have with me. They have with my support team. And that's by design. But the more I'm edifying the people around me, I will get farther faster doing that. And the last thing is always stay a student. Stay a student of the business, stay a student of the markets, a student of what you, and more than anything else, be a student of human behavior.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Human behavior is probably the one constant for the most part, but the market's changing, technology is changing, regulations are changing. It's the client's needs and their expectations are changing, but they're still based, I would say, on the same fundamental principles of safety, security, purpose, meaning, engagement, all of those things that has existed since time immemorial. They're just manifesting themselves in different ways in different periods.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, this has been a great conversation. We're coming to the end of our podcast. So I have a few final rapid fire questions for you that I ask all of my guests.
Rapid fire.
So when you're ready, number one.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Professionally, what is the most important lesson you've learned over the years?
Oh, wow. Go to work. I mean,
what do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is, I every day I have to make a decision about where my energies are most deserving. Okay, like what is the most productive thing I can do today, and then I have to execute whatever that is on a daily basis. So it really happens in short time increments. If I've learned anything, it's focus on what I can control right now and focus on what will make a difference.
Cool. And secondly, what is one practical tip you would offer listeners keen on applying your insights from your book, from your practice?
Well, if you're talking about just any professional, decide what you want. Decide what kind of business you want to build. Decide who you want to work with. Decide what makes you feel fulfilled as a professional. We insist that everybody at our firm write out, for example, their ideal client profile. If you're going to go fishing for salmon, take gear that will help you catch salmon,
Look, this is a great point, and we touched on it earlier. I think, and it ties into your first tip about do the work. I think if you're doing the work, do it deliberately.
Yes.
Think about what it is that you want to achieve and why you're doing it, and put that into action, as opposed to kind of accidentally doing it because that seems to be the next logical move.
Well, I use an example. Did you watch the men's basketball gold medal game this past weekend? Did you see Steph Curry at the end?
Yeah.
So Steph Curry just went insane for like 2 minutes. Okay. That's not an accident. Steph Curry shoots, I think somebody said, 300 free throws a day. Okay. That should teach us all something about the value of deliberate work. Okay. which is what you're talking about. So yes, work deliberately. Those that do that are the ones that succeed. It's not a radical concept.
No, it's a great example. Michael, this has been a really fun conversation. If listeners want to learn more about you, your book, where do they go?
Yes. Okay. So the book is A Firm Worth Building. It's backwards here on the screen. It does say A Firm Worth Building. It's available on Amazon. Everything I've talked about here today is in the book and then some. Okay. The book is a sum total of our experience. It actually is, a lot of it is derived out of mistakes we've made and also things that we're now doing that have been very successful for us. So that's where you can get the book. If you're a professional CPA, an attorney, whatever, I think you're going to find it really valuable.
Great. Michael, thanks for joining us today on the Future Ready Advisor podcast.
Mike, thanks so much for having me, Sam.
In this episode, I spoke with Michael Clarke, financial advisor and the author of the book, A Firm Worth Building. Here are my 3 key takeaways from this discussion. Number 1, build for long-term success, not just survival. Michael emphasizes that success isn't just about making it through tough times. Advisors should shift focus from simply staying afloat to deliberately building infrastructure, defining a vision, and investing in the systems and people that enable growth. Number 2, the power of saying no. Learning to say no to clients who don't align with your values or business model can be a game changer. By focusing on ideal clients, Michael doubled his production and found more satisfaction in his work. Number 3, leverage teamwork and partnerships. The future of wealth management lies in collaboration. Michael's concept of the digital family office integrates advisors, attorneys, and other professionals into a cohesive team, ensuring a seamless client experience. It's not about working solo. It's about building a network of trusted partners. These insights remind us that intentionality and collaboration are the keys to a thriving practice. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of the Future Ready Advisor. You've been listening to the Future Ready Advisor. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify, or share your feedback wherever you listen. Be sure to follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. For more insights on how to keep your practice future ready, visit www.samsivarajan.com. You can find the link on the show notes. There you'll find free tools and resources, along with exclusive bonus content from these podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to sharing more strategies with you in the next episode.